afternoon, everyone. I'm Valerie Starr. I'm the library director here at Weatherford College. I want to welcome you all here. I would like to introduce your next speaker. Her name is Kathy Renken, and she recently completed her master's in library science from Texas Women's University, and it complements her other master's degree from Tarleton in curriculum and design with a focus on creating online courses. Working in the library and teaching GED courses in her community, Kathy has concentrated her endeavors on working with underprepared students. Her career started as a programmer, a marketing manager, and then she moved into the educational field as a tutor and a math instructor. As a member of the library team, Kathy has helped create library handouts, library instruction, and orientation PowerPoints, and she is now creating online library instruction materials following best pedagogical practices. As her supervisor, I am grateful for the welcoming atmosphere that she has created at the library's circulation desk. Now, hear Kathy's passion as she leads you through the literature on how to reach and teach the underprepared students utilizing the library.
Thank you all for coming this afternoon. No one questioned me when I went for my first master's as instructional design and technology. After all, I'd been a programmer, so it was a perfect fit. But then as I pursued my M.L.S, I was definitely questioned on my mental sanity. What does the library have to do with instructional design? What I know is that whenever you're creating a course, and it doesn't matter if it's online, hybrid, or face-to-face, it's important to provide students with a myriad of different formats of information. And what better place to find information than in the library? Over the years, as a tutor, adjunct, and now working at the circulation desk at the library, and as a GED instructor that I've been doing for 8 years, I see mainly underprepared students. Some of them, as you know, have come underprepared by choice. They just slid through school and life looking for an easy A. But over the years, I have met many underprepared students who, though through no fault of their own, came to us ready and willing to learn. As an open enrollment institution, we have accepted them, and now, in the words of the Center for Community College Student Engagement Organization, we need to use our resources to educate our students who walk through our doors. And the persistent reality is that the majority of those students are underprepared. I will take a four-pronged approach today. I will state our overall goals for our students, and then look at the literature to focus on thinking on the characteristics of the underprepared student. I will then move on to looking at the literature on the benefits of using the library to reach and teach our underprepared students. And to close out the presentation, I will introduce you to the resources available from our library. So, what are we trying to achieve? Our college mission states that we enrich the lives of the students through innovative, affordable, and accessible learning and cultural opportunities. As educators, we see that we have both quantifiable and harder to measure goals. The faculty's job encompasses both sets of goals, and the library can help you and the students meet those goals. As you can see, the quantifiable goals focus on the academic skills and content, while fostering lifelong learning attributes focus on the self-confidence, working with people, and problem solving. And both the quantifiable and the harder to measure goals include information literacy. Information literacy falls directly into the wheelhouse of the library. As we study the literature, you will see how the library can help you help the student as they weave their way through their college experience. My first question is, what does the literature say about who our underprepared students are? As an open enrollment college, many of our students cannot read, write, or compute well enough to complete college programs. Many of them are coming to college because they realize that they are unable to move beyond entry-level jobs, and they want more for themselves and for their families. Many of our students did not have successful K-12 experiences, and these characteristics follow them to college and put them at risk. They come in with academic anxiety that leads to underpreparedness, or it could be the reverse. Underpreparedness leads to anxiety. Many of our underprepared students live in poverty, are first-generation students, and many are English language learners. When we see these 4 characteristics, we normally assume that we're talking about the non-traditional student, who is usually age 25 and above. But students working full or part-time, those supporting themselves, or even single parents are no longer just 25 or older. According to the National Center for Education, 74% in 2011 to 2012 students had some characteristics of the non-traditional student. That is really a high percentage. Just think about that. Only 25% are what we would normally consider traditional students, the student that I was when I went to college. The non-traditional students are becoming more traditional, more typical. They are fast becoming the norm. Also, students working and or supporting others may think that they are totally prepared to enter college, but many of these students will be those who are academically underprepared from the get-go. They come to us with poor time management skills that can lead to not scheduling enough time for regular studying. They have poor study skills. They are passive learners and think that all they need to do is memorize. Many of our students have a disconnect between what post-secondary schools expect from students and how high school has prepared them. We see students in the library, and age is totally irrelevant, that are extremely anxious about using the computer. There is a good chance that they do not have a computer or internet at home. They may have a phone or even a tablet, but though many of our underprepared students are mobile friendly, that does not mean that using the phone or tablet for their writing and research will lead to strong academic skills. Many of our students come in knowing how to use Google Drive. That's what they used in high school. But they have no idea how to use the Microsoft products, or that they are available to them for free through the library or through TechStop in the library. Many of our students have never even been in a library. At the beginning of every semester, we help students who think they buy their textbooks at the library. And many times we have to walk them over to the bookstore because they have no idea where it is. We help students who believe they have to pay to check out books, and many do not understand the monetary fine system for overdue items. So many have never used library resources or even know they are supposed to. Some of these students did not have a library at their high school, or they come in with risky misconceptions about the library, accessing information, researching, and their own information literacy capabilities. When it comes to using the library, they think that they're supposed to do their research without help. They think that the library is only a place to get books or to study, and they believe that all library sources and discovery tools are credible. So why would I say that? That's a strange statement for a librarian to say. What I mean by this is that they think that if they find an item through the library system, they can automatically use it. They do not question if it is peer-reviewed. They may even not have questions to see if it's appropriate for their topic. The title sounds right, let's just go for it. Library resources are credible, but they are not of equal value depending on their research questions. For most of our students, they know that internet resources are appropriate for academic work, and Google is a sufficient search tool. Just because a piece of information is easy to get, they believe that they have found quality information. If it's the very top thing in Google, hey, I'm done, I don't need to go any further. And I apologize. I know I sound sarcastic on that, and I don't mean to. It hits me hard when I have a student come in and they're just, well, I Googled it. And that's the only research they do. So many of our students think that that is the only research they need to do is on the internet. When assigned a research project, many students believe that research is a linear process and every question has a single answer. Just this week, we had 2 students come in to find a citation, find a citation. The paper was finished. They just did it straight out of their head. They just needed to find something that they could cite, because when they turned in the paper, the instructor said, I don't have a citation. So they came to us looking for something to back up what they said or have the right title. And their most dangerous misconception is that they believe they are information literate. As educators, we have labels for students who come to us underprepared. I know that you recognize these. People do not look at this list. So if you look at this, we've got the first generation students, low income students, digital native students, digital immigrants, so on. And people look at this list and they invariably question me on having digital natives on the list. A digital native is defined as a person who was born after 1984 and who grew up in the digital age. Digital immigrants are us older people who come to technology as adults. According to Scarton, the digital natives use technology a lot, to be sure, but their range is quite narrow and not very deep. They're okay at the basics: email, texting, surfing the internet, etc. And I actually question the email, because many times their emails look like texts. But when it comes to using technology to learn, it's mostly passive consumption of information. So just because your students are adept at using their phone for a long list of activities, and they act like they know what they're doing, many of them are underprepared to use technology hardware and software to successfully navigate their college world. And I'm going to say now, I'll be honest, the presentation was created for faculty. I have a lot of students here. And I hope I'm not stepping on feet. And if you are one of the truly information literate students that we do have here, please do not take offense to what I'm saying. Keep an eye out for your classmates, because you have a lot of classmates around you who really don't understand information, okay? And I recognize a lot of you. I mean, a lot of you are some of our library regulars. So I'm excited that you're here. But please, put that lens around my presentation, students, okay? Okay, this chart pulls together the highlights of what we have learned from the literature. The first column highlights the circumstances that begin normally with a K through 12 underpreparedness. Without strong academic foundation, the students' lifelong learning weaknesses become a way of life as they come into college. So we need to ask, can the library make a difference? What does the literature say? The library can help by understanding the literature of, the library can help by understanding the literature of student retention, and then by creating spaces, collections, and personnel who are responsive to student needs. Compared to non-library users, students who use the academic library have higher GPA their first semester and have higher retention. Using the library is positively related to student persistence and success in college by interacting with librarians, using the online or physical collection, attending a library instructional session, or enrolling in a class which effectively incorporates use of the library resources. Sometimes being a mom helps these students. Many times at the circulation desk, Janet, who's sitting right back there, and I've stepped out of our librarian role and into the mom role to gently educate an underprepared student in some basic areas. Some of them are, no, you do not have the right to party on the weekend if you haven't finished your work. And that leads into plan ahead, learning how to plan ahead. You should do your research before you write your paper, and even something as simple as don't leave your wallet in your car. That's our number one piece of momism. When students receive library instruction, it has been found that there is an increase in behaviors and attitudes related to persistence and help seeking. And students who frequently use library resources were also more likely to work harder to meet faculty members' expectations. And that one deserves an exclamation point, faculty members. Research shows that the librarian, as part of the process, enhances student learning. Increasing library outreach early in their college career strengthens their ability to do well. As we have already seen, the library contributes to improved student retention, and library instruction adds value to a student's long-term academic experience. But the library also promotes academic rapport and student engagement. And just the using of the library space relates positively to student learning and success. And you will see all of, oops, sorry. I have, this is what I wanted to press right here. All of my quotes and all of my information is cited, and at the end, I do have handouts for those who want it, and at the end of the presentation, I also have a complete reference section with all the information. Okay, so now let's look at the Weatherford College Library System and how we can help you, the faculty, help your students, as well as help the students help themselves. This is where the rubber meets the road. We will start by looking at the library resources that can help you meet the hard-to-measure goals by overcoming the hard-to-measure characteristics of the underprepared student. The reason that lifelong learning attributes are hard to measure is that our efforts may have immediate results, and we hope and work so that they will. But we are also planting seeds that could take years to realize. There are multiple facets to these 3 library resources here that address the hard-to-measure goals and characteristics. We will be looking at how our services, space, and collections can help our students become lifelong learners. Services are the ways that the library interacts with users or facilitates use of its space or collection. Spaces are areas where users can interact with library services and collections in a physical or digital environment. And collections are the library's physical and digital holdings. The portion of the library instruction that I am talking about here is where we're talking service library instruction, is where we are contributing to helping the student build lifelong skills that will follow them to other classes, other schools, and into the real world. We need to impart critical learning literacy skills to students so they can differentiate between facts and fiction, skills that will reverberate outside the academy. The questions we ask include, what is trustworthy and high quality information? Are they looking at fake news? What is plagiarism? And remember what the studies told us. Students today believe that they are information literate, but they rely almost exclusively on the web for their information needs. They will need to hear these trainings more than one time. Each time they are exposed to new content, they may need to be taught that what they've learned previously is still valid for the new class. By training library staff, at this point we're talking service and in particular student interaction, by training library staff to answer non-library questions while reporting back common questions to the appropriate units on campus. So if we hear a question from a student and it really doesn't have anything to do with the library, we need to go back and report it to whoever it has something to do with. So that allows us to be key players in campus-wide efforts to help students become acculturated to university life. We have updated our signage and our handouts, and we are working on web guides. It's important that we understand that there is library jargon that could be confusing to students, so we design our materials in a way that make more sense. It is not just about the discovery here of library resources or the newfound confidence in using them, but students also remarked on how useful librarians were in helping to motivate them. And that's why I love working at the circulation desk.
It's that mom thing.
Yeah, it's that mom thing. Now we're talking about collaborative working space for students. The library of today offers spaces where students can collaborate with others. This encourages a sense of belonging through student-to-student interactions outside of the classroom. This is especially important on a campus where most of the students are commuters. There is a hunger within our undergraduate student population to actually socialize. The library has always been that crossroads for campuses. It can serve in this capacity, pulling students together. Barrett stated, during office hours, the professor usually sits behind the desk, often in a bigger or nicer chair, clearly on professor's turf. The library also offers, along with student-to-student interaction, the ability for faculty to bring students, faculty and adjuncts to bring students to a neutral, informal space to meet with students. Along with the collaborative spaces, the library offers students, faculty, and staff an inviting environment for relaxing or collaborating. We have had students sleep, but we only let them sleep for about a half an hour, and we'll wake them up. Okay, the next is something that we added about a year and a half ago. We have what we call a physical Facebook. The library's physical Facebook has two purposes. The first goal is to make the student and faculty and staff, anybody coming into the library, smile. We update comics posted by the two entrances on a weekly basis. Throughout the semester, we post different types of information that might be of interest to the student, just like you would on Facebook, the digital Facebook. We would love to coordinate these posters with faculty instruction. We do have one faculty member who has created questions to go along with some of our posters and gives a small amount of extra credit for the students who come into the library to study our posts. And these usually get changed about once a month. And the topics range from how to spot fake news, study smarter, some information on how to get a Valentine's gift for somebody you love. So we try to cover the serious and the fun also. Next we're talking about the collections as a repository of online tutorials not linked to specific classes. Use of library resource tutorials can help your students, and here's a picture of it right here. This is on the web. This is existing today. Help your students know how to access the databases that you prefer them to use. For example, we see students come in and they type in EBSCO, which is a type of database. It's a database company. They type it into Google because their instructor told them they're supposed to use a Google database. That's what their instructions say. What they didn't know is that they don't just type it into Google, they need to go to the website, the library website, and access it there, because our EBSCO databases are under a proxy, under the proxy server, which means if you don't go in through our website, you're going to have trouble getting into the database. So by having different resources online, faculty can go ahead and give these links to these videos and say, okay, watch this video, and then go ahead and get into the EBSCO database. So this is going to help them with their research success, because there is nothing so frustrating to a student to sit there and go, but that's what they said to do, go to EBSCO database. I see a lot of, we've had students that's happened to. We're in the process of creating an online Canvas library instruction class, and that's what this right now is. It is still under construction and not completely available yet. And this you can use, faculty can use to supplement their library, their actual class materials. Topics are being covered that will include topics that are not linked to any specific class. We're looking how to find books and media, finding online resources, something on research basics, how to find your topic, and how to set up a search strategy, how to evaluate information, and then how to access the information when you're off campus. So these are things that we are working on right now. I'm assuming by this summer, This will be up and going and ready for students to use and for faculty to access. The online library materials help the underprepared student overcome learning weaknesses with accessible learning. Accessible learning was one of the key words from our mission statement from the college. All from the comfort of their own home or the comfort of the library. They may not have completely understood what they were told to do in class, but they can relearn the material online. Next, we will look at the library resources that can help you meet the quantifiable goals by overcoming the quantifiable characteristics of the underprepared students. These are goals and characteristics that are much easier to put numbers to. A certain percent of students do this or do that. There are multiple facets to the 3 library resources that address the quantifiable goals and characteristics. We will be looking at our collections, space, and services, and how they can help our students overcome their academic weaknesses. Our collections include the library's physical and digital holdings, and we will look at what we have for students and their academic work, as well as the physical holdings that faculty can check out for professional development. We will also talk about the online collection available for research and how students can access this collection to build up their lagging content knowledge as well as their tech skills. Using the online resources is beneficial for you to add multiple formats of information to your classes. The library space provides areas where students can interact with library services and collections in the physical or digital environment. And our services include the ways that the library interacts with users or facilitates use of its spaces or collections. The big myth is that many faculty don't engage with the library because they feel like, well, the library's online, right? Students can access it anywhere from a distance. Our acquisitions librarian, Elizabeth Spear, is very calculated when choosing new materials, and I'm talking about physical materials in the library, to add to our collection. Primary subject areas collected are those that directly serve and support the instructional and research activities of the college. Secondary subject areas collected are those that serve and support student, faculty, and staff, and community activities associated with the college. So if you come in and you look at a certain section in the library that has to do with your content area as a faculty member, and if you go, whoa, wait a minute, I'm missing certain things that are important for what I'm teaching, make sure you let Elizabeth know, because she takes what she does very serious. And she wants to make sure that what she puts in the collection matches what is offered. And she sits literally with the school catalog. And she looks at, okay, this book fits here. So, faculty, keep in touch with Elizabeth. She's a great resource. Our professional development books, DVDs, and databases provide materials that will help faculty meet the learning needs of all their students. We have up-to-date information for cutting-edge curriculum and instruction design, assessment design, materials on universal design for learning, as well as information on learning styles and materials on reaching and teaching the underprepared students. Now, for students who are part of the education program, we have books upstairs that hit on a lot of these topics for the elementary or the high school. The professional development material is mostly downstairs for the higher ed level. And students, you are allowed to take that material out too. So if you have an interest in some of the higher ed topics, please ask and we'll help you find the stuff. It isn't just because it's in professional development that faculty's the only one who can take it out. Watson found in his study, and we also see that as more of our print resources have become available online, fewer faculty are coming to the physical library, which has significantly reduced the amount of face-to-face contact between the librarian and the faculty. When looking at our online collections, there are various layers of materials available. The library catalog allows students, faculty, and staff to do a discovery search that includes databases, books, and other items available at any or all of the campus libraries, as well as libraries worldwide. The library catalog allows college-owned items to be put on hold for later pickup, as well as request an interlibrary loan for materials we do not own. So if there's something you're interested in and we don't have it in our library, that's okay. We can request it for you. And if you don't know how to do it, make sure you stop by the circulation desk and we'll show you. The online's collection, like I said earlier, provides our students with the ability to do their research on their own time. The tutorials provide guidance at point of need. We have specialty databases that will help specific student populations, and this, I'll be honest, I'm really excited about. As somebody with underprepared at heart, or passion, because I think we all have underprepared at heart. For example, we have Mango, which is a database to support English language learners, and these include current immigrants as well as our international students. Mango is used extensively already in the Spanish classes. Learning Express Library is one that they have just updated, and literally this week, in honor of my presentation, we put it on our website. This is designed for underprepared students. It provides access to a lot of background content review, computer skills, as well as grammar review and test prep materials. If you have a student who does not have the background knowledge of your subject matter, and if they just don't know enough to even start to be successful in your class, provide them with the links. Go ahead and take a look at Learning Express Library and find the link, and we'll help you figure out what the right links are to give your student. And I mean, they have chemistry on there, the basics of chemistry, the basic of American history, just all kinds of basics, so that if you see a student come in that is like, the Constitution of the United States, what's that? But that's a real true statement. You know, we've got students who really don't know what's going on. There is information there. Now, I am not saying that all students will access it, but at least we're giving them the opportunity to access it. If they don't, that's their decision. You can't lead a horse to water and make them drink. But this Learning Express is very exciting. We also have online encyclopedias, test prep databases, newspapers, legal forms, and we even have a small engine repair database. I mention the encyclopedias because, once again, for our underprepared students that don't have background knowledge, an encyclopedia is not a research resource at the college level. But if they don't know what they're talking about, it's a way to start, and I mean, along with Wikipedia and along with a lot of other things, but it's a great way to get started, to learn something about their topic, to find keywords. It can be part of the keyword search process. Many of our online resources provide more than just the written word. Lecture, right here, is an especially ineffective instructional technique for the Gen Y, which is the 25 to 39-year-old students, because these students prefer active or kinesthetic learning environments. It is important to know your students. Provide information, Provide information matching how they take in and process information and respond to different instructional environments. Our online collections offer you materials that can help make learning come alive for your students. So, I'd like to talk about learning styles. This is actually where this whole presentation started. Because the more we know about a student's learning style, the better we can help them. To understand the basic learning style components and how to integrate them into your classroom, you need to start by determining how you prefer to receive information. What is your learning style? It is important to know this because we all tend to send information in the way we wish to receive it. Your personal learning style affects your group interaction and leadership style, and can also cause misunderstanding and conflict when your learning style is different from your students. There are many different learning style inventories available. A lot of them are free. You don't have to pay for them. Some inventories report on several components in a style such as motivation, surface deep approaches to learning, as well as social, physical, and environmental elements. And some personality inventories have learning characteristics as a part of their wider descriptions. For the purpose of this presentation, I have decided to use the VARC modalities. And VARC, it's varc.com, that you can just access this directly, and like I said, it is free. Build a get to know your student assignment in your first class. We have professional development materials that can help you create this assessment. So now more about the VARC modalities. VARC deals with only one dimension of the complex combination of preferences that make up a person's learning style. The VARC questions and their results focus on the ways in which people like information to come to them and the ways in which they prefer to deliver their communication. We tend to spend so much time telling them they have to write a paper, which is really good if you're part of the read and write modality, which is learn through words. But if you really connect with information that's visual, like images, maps, graphic organizers, it may be worthwhile for your students that you've given them an opportunity. I'm not saying that they never write a paper, but what I'm saying is kind of mix it up a little bit. Let one assignment, let them do a PowerPoint. Another assignment, let them write a paper. Or do a PowerPoint and then write a paper from it. Mix it up. So we talked about the read and write, the visual. The kinesthetic are the hands-on learners. They are the true-to-life information. They like the true stories. They like to listen to stories. They want to know, and they want to be able to try things literally with their hands. And then you have the auditory, the listening and speaking, which is a lot of what we see in a college environment. Somebody lectures, and I'll be honest, I'm doing a lot of that today. If I had 2 hours, I would definitely mix this up, and I would do a lot of visual. I'd do auditory. I'd maybe have you have a computer to do some hands-on, but I don't have 2 hours. So you need to realize that the modal preference of people are seldom singular. Today, more than ever, all of us are being blasted by information design, and according to M.L.S, it is being poured into their eyes by the web. I thought that was well worth repeating. It is being poured into our eyes by the web. Our exposure to the web has trained us to be visualizers now. We are all demanding a visual aspect to our information. Charts, graphic organizers, images, maps, because the web is training us to accept that information. Make sure that each style preference is addressed to a reasonable extent. Good curriculum will always include a mix of verbal, visual, kinesthetic cues, and not including some of your students' learning style can be more damaging to their learning process. The point is not to match teaching style to learning style, but rather to achieve a balance, making sure that each style preference is addressed to a reasonable extent during instruction. This chart is included in the presentation to help you get a feel, and I'm not going to go through it line by line. I do have a handout of this if anybody wants it. This is something I created for my first master's program, and it is where we're looking at the different material types and which modality they connect with. And it's important to realize here, to succeed in any profession, students will need attributes associated with all learning style categories. Using a variety of learning styles in your instruction will prepare students for lifelong learning. because they're going to go out into the work world and they're not always going to get information in lecture format. They're not always going to get information in lecture format. They're going to get memos, they're going to get emails, they're going to get graphs, they're going to get charts, and if they don't know how to read them, we haven't prepared them for the work world. Okay, now we're talking about space, and in particular our study spaces. Earlier I shared that study spaces provide collaborative space that helps students feel like they're part of a community. In conjunction with the quantifiable goals and characteristics, the study spaces provide students both quiet and collaborative, because we have both spaces at the library where they can use library services and collections to fill in their content, technology, and information literacy gaps, while having access to a library staff person available to provide guidance for the students' learning. We have students who are visually and hearing impaired. The specialized equipment available in the library not only helps these students with making learning accessible, but the equipment can also be used with students who are dyslexic. Any struggling students can use the ADA recommended equipment. All this equipment is over by the tech stop area, and if you do have students that would like to use it, make sure that they come in. It's important to systematically integrate information literacy courses beyond a one-time session into the course curriculum and provide teaching and learning responses to address this integration. The findings also suggest that students are still developing their information literacy competencies at the end of their first semester, and library instruction should be provided beyond the first semester of coursework for students to adequately gain the proficiency necessary for academic success. So, if I could make a suggestion, make sure that your students hear the library instruction message more than once. Whether it's bringing somebody in to just come in and talk for half an hour, linking up to our online resources, talk about it yourself, have them come in, bring them to the library. Lots of different ways. We do a lot of one-on-one talking to the students just from the circulation desk. On library instruction. The library's online materials are beneficial to online, hybrid, and face-to-face students. Just because they're online doesn't mean they can't be used by your face-to-face students. After they've put the kids to bed, online materials support students at point of need. Point of need is very important, which has been one of the library instruction for a lot of classes is what we call a one-shot. Library instruction comes in once, they teach it, usually at the beginning of the semester. Weeks and weeks go by before they actually ever need to use it. So by the time they're ready to use it, they've already forgotten what it is that they talked about, because they have so much information hitting them, content information, learning how to use to get around the campus. There's so many things that they're trying to figure out. That learning instruction one shot is gone by the time they're ready to use it for most students. Point of need is where the online materials can be very beneficial. Having the ability to see or hear the library instruction a second or a third or even a fourth time will only strengthen their skills, because they can listen to one of our videos over and over and over again. Embedding links to the library into your course gives students the tools to support their research and information literacy. Since core information literacy standards align with what faculty members want from their students, a collaboration with a librarian can make that happen. The result will be more information literate students who feel more comfortable finding information they need to turn in a higher quality paper or project. The academic library does help mitigate many financial challenges students face. For instance, computer and software access. There still is a percentage of student population that does not have a computer at home, and they do not have extended use of a computer or internet access. The U.S. Census currently estimates that about 25% of all households have no paid internet subscription. And when you I have a map, but it's from 2012, so I was a little leery to use it for this presentation. But just last night in my GED class, I had a student come in And I asked if they have internet. Their answer was, yes. Do you have a computer? No, I have my phone. So he had a hotspot that gets paid for on a week-by-week basis by somebody. So we have a lot of students here that do not have access to internet. So part of their learning is going to be planning ahead if they need to use the online resources of any sort, whether it's Canvas, particularly for writing papers and turning papers in. It's hard to write a paper on your phone, and we have students who try and do it, actually. You all can probably attest to the quality of those papers. Having textbooks on reserve provides students with cost-saving opportunities. Students can check out the available textbooks for 2 hours while in the library. Many students are financially unable to pay for books, so using reserve books helps keep them in school. We have a student who, for 2 years, never purchased a book. She did all the basics, never purchased a book, straight A student. Part of her planning was to be in the library every day. We knew what time it was based on when Jessica showed up. And she always used reference books, or reserve books. She never bought a book, but she was a straight A student. So it is possible to do it, but if you're a student that does not know how to plan, it's going to be tough, and we do talk to students about that. Access to these tools and the hours in which to use them, the library can help mitigate some of the additional economic challenges of college attendance. The library, as a free resource to help level the socioeconomic playing field, is an important role. And then we also have Tech Stop and the Writing Center are in the library, yielding positive and free benefits to our students. So now we're done, or better yet, I'd like to think we're just beginning. As you look at the library through the lens of the college mission statement, you will see that the library innovatively provides services to help students better afford their college education, as well as enriching their learning experience. And by offering online materials, the students have entry to accessible learning. Whatever the reasons, many students do not achieve their post-secondary educational goals or benefit at optimal levels from the college experience. The waste of human talent and potential is unconscionable. What can colleges and universities do to uphold their share of the social contract and help more students succeed? At-risk students may be those who have made poor choices or decisions that impacted negatively on their academics, or students with academic or physical limitations, or they may be an adult student who returns to higher education after an extended absence. I hope that, as you have heard some of the literature-based data on how utilizing the library can help your underprepared student successfully succeed academically, as well as take steps towards becoming lifelong learners, you will check out both the physical and online resources available to you and your students. Please encourage your students to visit the library. Ask the librarian for help to use the computers, the Writing Center, Tech Stop, and other resources. Listen to this student-instructor conversation. I had no idea how I had screwed up the assignment. We never did anything like this in my high school, and we never had any kind of books or magazines at home. I really thought I had done my assignment right. The instructor asked him why he had not talked to one of the resource librarians for help, and he said, I was embarrassed to ask them. I guess I didn't really know how or what to ask them. Honestly, I am kind of afraid to even approach those people. I mean, I don't know them. Please, if you have a student, or if you have a friend, or if you yourself are not comfortable in a library, if they're embarrassed or afraid to ask questions, come walk them over to us. Assure them that we look forward to working with all our students, and I promise we do not bite.
Much.
As educators, we have an obligation to all our students, including those who arrive underprepared. We at the library look forward to serving you, the faculty, to use a myriad of materials that will provide underprepared students with real opportunities for success. Thank you for your attention. Does anybody have any questions? Well, that was easy. Thank you.